Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Arya's Prayer, a nerdrotic Game of Thrones recap. I am your co-host, Jon Reed, and joining me from his long journey rowing around in circles of San Francisco in one-way traffic, Gary Buechler. How's it going, Gary?
It's going good. Really working on my glutes or my pecs or whatever the hell I'm working on. I know nothing about muscles.
You'll be lifting that Warhammer soon enough.
Yes. I can draw a nice picture of a hammer, but I don't think I could really use one.
You're selling yourself short. We could go north of the wall tomorrow and wail on some whites ourselves, I think. We're ready to go.
Ready to go. It'd just be like beating up tweakers.
Yeah, it's the tenderloin that we're basically just going, north of Market is
exactly.
All that is. So, wow, this episode was really interesting to me because we were kind of talking about this before we got on the air. Game of Thrones is weird in that most shows have their kind of slower episode right before the finale, but Game of Thrones likes to have these huge battles in the penultimate episode instead of the finale, and then they use the finale to have like these big character moments or deaths or whatever, right? But the battles themselves tend to be right before the finale. And so the third to last episode tends to be the setting the stage episode that we get on a normal TV show right before the finale. And this very much was that, but it had all these really weird little moments, like the annulment news that we got at the Citadel about Rhaegar's annulment and remarriage. We got Gendry back in the mix. We got Jorah showing up to say hi and bye to Dany. We in a little sexual tension between Jon, like a little sexual tension between Jon and Dany and Jorah. So we got all these like weird little. Cersei might be pregnant, right? Like we got all these little strange reveals in this episode, and I thought that made the episode feel a little bit more dynamic than a typical lead-up episode. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, well, this whole season is different, and we've already made the argument that I wish it was 10 episodes, but it's not. So we're going to deal with it. And besides the rushed feel to it, this one actually was really well paced, I thought. With considering how much happened and everything you just went down, it really was a smooth episode, and a couple of things, which we'll get into later, like the Arya Sansa stuff, which I thought they would kind of rush through, and I thought, because some of the stuff I know what's going to happen, okay, because I've read spoilers. And
that's what I was going to ask you. The whole script leaked ahead of time by the hackers that leaked last week's episode. Did you read the script ahead of time, or did you go into this without that?
The plot's been out there for like a year. It's if you go to the right Reddit, it's the I don't want to out them on the internet, but if you go to the right,
this episode specific plot.
This specific plot has been out there for months. Okay, and I only read parts of it, and the Sansa Arya stuff, which reading it sounded just like, oh my God, it sounds like we're just doing this to create drama. It actually was done really well. So I tried not to read all of it. I really didn't. And I've read some, but I didn't read the last episode or next episode. Because it has taken away a little bit for me, because it has been so gosh damn right. They've got a huge leaking problem there at Game of Thrones. I don't know how, it's probably way too late to stop it now, but it was a great episode, but I knew everything that was coming this week.
So, what I feel like is interesting about that is the way that this episode worked. I don't know, like I wasn't spoiled ahead of time. I try to stay away from spoilers before something launches, and then I don't care about spoilers after that. It's my own fault, right? So like the way I look at it is like I want to talk about Spider-Man Homecoming when it comes out, but I may not get to it in the first, weekend, but I still want to talk about it with you. So I'm like, let's just talk about the movie. I haven't seen it, but let me know what you think of it. Let's talk. So I don't care about spoilers. I'm not like one of those types of people, but in the lead up to something when everyone should be in the dark, I don't like watching a ton of trailers and reading a lot of stuff just personally. So when some of the little, like, the moments I feel like I went down to say like all these little weird things happened, those were like hidden moments. Like those weren't the big moments of this episode, right? Like we can talk about a lot of the big moments of the episode, like Jaime and Tyrion meeting up and there's a lot of big things that Bran with the three-eyed ravens, seeing the whole army marching and then getting ravens to all the important people to say, come fight this war with us, and the alliance that Jon and Dany are working on. Like, these big things happened as well. And so I feel like even if I did know about what was happening, it still is really cool, all the stuff that's going on. I would say, though, the teleportation device that they've all built in their own camps was on overdrive this episode. Like, Jaime was all over the place. Jon was all over the place. Dany. So, I still feel like they're yada-yadaing over the travel aspect of the show, taking it kind of out of the D&D, the Dungeons and Dragons universe, and making it a real TV show where you don't have to show every single march to every single place. I think it's a smart way to go about it when you have such limited time, but it does definitely take away from the real. Like, you don't feel like you're on the journey with Jon because it yada-yada all the way over from Dragonstone to Eastwatch, right? Like, there's a lot that probably happened and discussions that happened between Jon and Jorah on that trip that we didn't get to see. And so, it's a bummer, but I do like the accelerated pace of what we're getting, because we're getting so many more little cool things. Sorry, that was long.
No, that's all right. That's I'm a book fan first and foremost. So the show spoiling things, this is not how the book's going to end. This is pretty much fan fiction compared to the book. Let's just call it what it is. It is not going to end like this. The biggest complaints, especially about Winds of Winter, is it was all people in boats and on wheelhouses and on the back of horses talking, which I love. I mean, it was pretty much following Tyrion till, halfway through the book is just traveling, and
right,
being drunk. But it was great. With the show, I'm okay with them missing it. This is why you don't put a map in a show usually. This is why, Walking Dead doesn't put a giant Georgia map and show everybody, because, the same thing would happen. For one, I haven't watched Walking Dead in a while, so are they still in Georgia or have they moved around, Because you think they would have gotten out of that state a long time ago. I don't know. I don't know where the hell
they were marching
right
toward D.C. at a certain point, but I think that
they should have been to freaking the north of Canada by now. They could have been to Cape Horn by now. I don't know.
Speaking of The Walking Dead, though, I wanted to ask you: did you feel like I know you may not have been watching at the time, but the way The Walking Dead dealt with Glenn's death, where they did like a fake out death and then brought him back and then killed him again right away. Spoiler alert. Sorry, everybody. I feel like they kind of did that with Bron and Jaime here, where like the end of the last episode was pretty dire, and then all of a sudden they just pop back up and they're fine. And there's Bron, there's no way Bron's like getting a guy in full armor and dragging him to, like, it's just, I don't know. I felt like they dealt with that cliffhanger last week pretty poorly this week, but that's the only nitpicky type thing I have in my notes for the rest of the episode.
I never thought for a second they were dead. So, they've got plot armor. I don't know about Bron, but Jaime's got plot armor. He's got a lot more to do. So I was never worried about him being dead. I guess that's just where they needed to end it. Wasn't the best Game of Thrones ending, but it's one of the best battles. I watched it 5 times maybe. It was so great. I don't know. I think you could make more of an argument about Jon Snow. I'm sure it's going to come into it later, and they did actually finally mention it a little bit this episode about, Daenerys confronted him about taking a knife to the heart, taking a knife to the heart, and he's like, oh, those northern guys, they overexaggerate. I think they're going to get into that. Hopefully they get into a little bit of that this season, but so far, it was just to shock. And I know that's not how it's going to go down in the book. Even, the dead who have returned, Sir Gregor, Beric Dondarrion, Jon Snow, and I mentioned this in the first podcast that George R. R. Martin in a recent Comic-Con said that they're essentially whites. They're the same as the whites for the other. They're just whites for R'hllor. Their hearts are not beating. So, we don't know if Jon Snow's dead yet in the books. He's dying as the book ends, spoiler. But so him coming back, I mean, it's going to be, again, this is going to be completely different. Now he's just a living and breathing human being. So, yeah, I don't, that's been more of the fake out for me this season. Is like, I wish they could have, I mean, I know they can't get at everything. They are trying to cover everything, and they're doing a pretty damn good job. We could go down the list of like all the things we've been waiting for forever. I mean, I guess we could start with Gendry. I mean, like, you know, seeing Gendry was awesome. I knew it was coming, and it still was awesome. And then him breaking out a fucking Warhammer like his dad, you know, and acknowledging his father, and, you know, it's like, oh, the Baratheons are back in the game. Yeah, you know, it was cool. And you know, Davos not even, you know, oh, I might have to talk you into this. He's all, I'm ready to go. Let's go. You know, that was cool, man. I liked it.
Yeah, I didn't catch much of that. We've got a really weird connection, so I don't know what is being picked up on the outside, or what, you know, what the audience is hearing right now. But
I was talking about Gendry coming back.
Yeah, Gendry coming back was really cool. I also loved Davos's reaction.
Sorry,
like,
Gendry. I say Gendry, but it's Gendry.
Yeah.
It's also Theon, John.
Yeah, I know it's Theon. I know. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, I liked Davos's reaction to Gendry coming back as well. I thought it was really funny. It was kind of hilarious to me that he kind of spoke like the audience was feeling like, oh, we thought maybe you were still rowing around on a boat out there somewhere, you know.
Meta.
Yeah,
more meta Game of Thrones. I know it's your favorite, so
this one was funnier. I don't know. You know, I can see that. What do you think about Jorah being back in the mix? You said that Dany needed a bit of a military commander. He's the guy, but then he goes straight off and joins Jon on his trip north.
Well, there's two things here. I like the Jorah character, so I like it. I like where it ended up, which we'll talk about in a second. I don't want to blow that wad right now, but it's a little disappointing to come to the Dragonstone. Hi, okay, I'm going to see you later. Bye. You know, and then this is why it's getting rushed, because there's so much shit to deal with, and now we're rushing through it. Like Jorah, you know, Tormund hates Jorah, and Gendry hates the Brotherhood, and we're just rushing along that. Now, to get the super team we got at the end, which is rad, but when it comes to Jorah, a little disappointed that the grayscale got healed so quick. It's like, why bother giving him grayscale? It just turned into, that's kind of a Dynasty moment, I'll call it, if you guys, anybody out there remembers the show Dynasty, or a Bobby Ewing shower moment. You know, it just wasn't necessary. But, you know, I'm happy that we're going to get him kicking some ass finally, and not just getting beaten down. Yeah, I guess the only character still getting beaten down is poor Theon. But yeah, you know, it was a little disappointed, a little bit.
Yeah, I felt the same way. I think, though, that the disappointment in this episode, they needed to get him back to Dany, to get to him to Jon, to get him to the north, right? So they had to kind of get through all that. I think that disappointment will be made up for in the next episode. It looks like the next episode is all about the trek north of the Wall to get a White Walker to show Cersei in King's Landing, right?
Yes, it is. And, you know, I'm part of that. This is part of, you can't make everybody happy, John. There is the people who bitched about Game of Thrones for prodding along and taking too long, and now there's people bitching about it, you know, rushing. You know, you can't freaking win.
Yeah, it's true.
I liked the prodding along. I liked the journey in the wheel cart, and we get to learn the history of Westeros. I mean, they dropped they dropped one big bomb. I even wrote it down. I can't go into her story right now, but they mentioned Jenny of Oldstones. The Maesters mentioned Jenny of Oldstones, she is just so huge to the Song of Ice and Fire and all the old, you know, almost every other chapter, not every chapter, they tell a story of some time in the past, which moves the entire story forward. She's a big part of the game, or Song of Ice and Fire mythos. So, you know, just there's a million videos about her. Go look up Jenny of Oldstone. So that was cool that they dropped that. And last week I didn't even mention they mentioned the Golden Company, you know, and that's a sellsword group that was led by a Targaryen, an offshoot Targaryen house called the House Blackfire. You know, that's a huge part of the story, and you know it just gets glossed over. But it's cool that they mention it. But
Yeah. I also thought it was hilarious. Dany gives her speech when she's about to fry the Tarleys because they won't bend the knee. It was very like she was feeling the burn. Dany's been she's talking about how the rich are oppressing everyone, and she's there to solve all those problems.
She said the rich and the poor. So I mean, she said some rich people were getting screwed over too. So she did mention both. She did not mention the middle class, though. Have you noticed that? She left the middle class out of the goddamn argument. So
she's not trying to strengthen the middle.
The poor blacksmith, in Old Town, who's got 2 kids off at university or whatever the hell they are, off in Dorne, studying Westerosi studies or whatever the hell they're doing. And then, so then if we're going to start at the beginning here, let's go to. I want to go. They fried the Tarleys. Rickon not Rickon went out like a total idiot. And if you do not recognize him, he was in the 11th Hour, Doctor Who, Matt Smith's first episode, by the way. He didn't need to go, and I'm glad the Randall Tarley in the book would have gone, "Get over here, you're burning with me," which they made. Again, everybody's a little nicer on the show, but when Daenerys returned to Dragonstone, we got again, this would have been the biggest thing in an episode, except that so many things happened in this episode, and we do have to cover them all, John, is Jon Snow petting Drogon, and
yeah,
that was...
I had that underlined. What do you think that's trying to say, Gary?
Oh, it's saying, hello, fellow Targaryen. R plus L equals J. If somebody doesn't know what that is, you're a really casual fan, and that's good because all this stuff will surprise you and you'll have no idea what I'm talking about anyway. So it's cool.
So I'm going to say right now, we're going to put up a little spoiler warning on the screen because I do want to talk about R plus L because it comes up twice in this episode in different ways. The first one being what you just said. Jon is fascinated with the dragon. He lets him pet him. Dany... I think is fascinated with why that happened. And then later in the episode, like I said earlier, we get Ginny Gilly is looking through she's kind of doing Sam's homework for him, and she's looking through some of the old Maester's notes, and they see that an annulment was performed on for Rhaegar so that he could be remarried in secret. So we find out in that moment that if R plus L equals J, if Rhaegar and Lyanna Stark are Jon's parents, he is not a bastard because they were married at the time that it happened. And I think that that's a really big deal that they kind of hid away in this episode. And I think for many book fans, I think that that's probably the biggest thing that happened this episode. I don't know. Do you agree with that?
I agree. Book fans are going to notice where they got married, though. Big difference. It's always okay. We're still in theory territory here. So they supposedly got married on the Isle of Faces in the book. That's what the most of the theories believe is they got married at the Isle of Faces. Now they never even mentioned that in the show. I don't believe, which is too bad because it's another big thing. But you can't mention everything. They got married in Dorne. I think it's a big deal. That brings up one of the biggest mistakes of season 5, which we talked about, was why didn't you just come out? And again, we got the spoiler thing down there. You got spoilers. Why didn't we just go on and say Rhaegar's his dad? I mean, the whole everybody freaking knows now. It's kind of pointless to drag it on. Now you could make it a mystery within the show, like Jon doesn't know. See, that would be cool. It would have been totally fine at the end to just find. I think they want to show you instead of tell you. So I think we're going to actually see Rhaegar Targaryen this season, which is cool. And there are some rumors that some singer's playing him. I've never heard of the guy, but he looks like Rhaegar. But I don't think they needed to stretch it out this long. This is like everybody knows. I think my 11-year-old who doesn't watch the show knows. So at this point, it's not going to be that. But I mean, it's going to be cool to find out. The reveal was still great last year. Even though we saw it coming. So maybe it'll be similar this time. I don't know. I just kind of wish they would have. I did hear groan with the people I was watching with groaned when you didn't hear the father's name. Although you can read the lips. Okay, it's Rhaegar. I'm saying it right now. His name is Aegon. Sorry, did I say Rhaegar? His name is Aegon. So that's that. I'll bet my next paycheck on it.
So So yes, to me that was the most interesting thing in the episode, and we're talking about Jon petting the dragon and Dany getting a little bit more secure in their relationship, in their alliance. I think because of that. So I think there's a couple things that happened in that moment, and it was pretty significant. Then we go to King's Landing, and Jaime is telling Cersei of Olenna's death, and talks about that she confessed, and he believes her, that Tyrion did not in fact kill Joffrey. He lays out the case why he believes her, and Cersei basically says like, she's not even satisfied that Olenna was killed by Jaime, but that he did it in a peaceful way and she didn't die screaming horrifically, which puts us, I think that gives us another insight into the brutality inside Cersei's mind.
Yeah, she's off the chains. I mean, her kids died, and she's, been kind of let loose. But I guess we could talk about, again, we're going to talk about three things here that would be an episode alone. So the first one was Jon petting Drogon, and the, R plus L equals J. Tyrion not being the killer of Joffrey, Olenna, and Cersei being preggers.
Yeah.
By Jaime. So again, we've got three episodes in one. Do I believe it? Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because she wants to come out and tell the whole, she wants to come out and tell the whole kingdom they have an heir, and it's Jaime's kid. Like, she doesn't care anymore. Like, she thinks she's above it all. She can't be taken down by anything. So, or at least that's what she believes. So I don't know. Like, it almost seemed like in that moment she was faking it to get Jaime back on her side as he was drifting toward Tyrion, right? Like, that's how I read that situation, but I've been wrong at almost every guess on what the show does that I don't know from the books. So I think it'll be interesting to see. And yeah, it would be. Look, this kid is not going to be born, right? Like, this kid is, or either that, or it's going to be a Dany situation where the kid like gets exiled and starts the story all over again with the Lannister in exile.
You never know. You never know. That flips the script a little bit from the books. It's Jaime at one point. I think it's in. Excuse my language. Is it Feast for Crows or Storm of Swords, where he's like, the Targaryens did it. Screw it. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
What's the big deal? And it's Cersei who's against it.
That was pre-Brienne Jaime, though, right? Like, that was him before his kind of awakening. To maybe the brutality of his family that kind of happens in the books a little bit more than it has
at the beginning of it. I mean, he's back with Brian since then, but this, when he comes back at first, he's still in love with Cersei, and then he starts seeing in this. I'm talking about the books. He starts seeing how horrible of a ruler she is, because she gets a chance to rule through Tommen for quite a while and causes a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Feast for Crows. And that's the first time we get chapters inside her head, and you see how things work, and her penis envy and Tywin envy,
yep.
and, just total hatred for what she is. And, the lion does not concern themselves with the sheep is just her motto. That's it. And also the prophecy, how it runs her life. So,
can we talk a little bit about Sam at the Citadel? Because that stuff was fascinating to me, like how he feels emboldened from his time on the Wall, right? And so he speaks up when he hears something really important during that council meeting. What is that council, Gary?
Well, that's just all the archmaesters sitting around. They just got the raven from Bran saying that the dead are marching on the Wall, and of course they actually give two pretty good sides of the argument. They're like, okay, this could be true, and this could be the Dragon Queen and trying to get all the southern armies up north, which would kind of make sense if you've never seen a dead man. They did bring piece of a white down earlier when Tyrion was hand. I don't know how much the word got around though in the show, and I don't know how much the word got around the book. I can't remember. I think it was like decayed by the time, because Tyrion had because Tyrion had put the oh my God, why am I spacing? See, this is me getting old. It's the guy who Jon Snow hung, Thorne, Alistair Thorne. God, what is the matter with me? Thorne. Tyrion made him wait in his room forever before he was going to see him, and I think the hand was already decayed or whatever. But he did see it. And he did mention it this episode. With Sam, what you fought the dead, dude, it emboldens you. Okay, you survive. Well, you would hope you survive some crazy shit in your life, and you get braver. Because you just live life on that curve. I've talked to you about this, just on the stuff I've experienced. I live life on a curve. As long as I don't ever go back to that point where I was, life is good. So everything is good. Every day is a gift. And that's the way Sam's seeing it. So he's like seeing a bunch of old dudes, making, really, I don't know, they're wise. And he gave a good speech. He said, hey, they'll listen to you. I've been there. And, they essentially, most of them call him a liar, and Jim Broadbent, the Archmaester, he's like, he's being level headed about it, but Sam doesn't, they don't realize how little time we have. The time is over. It's done. They're about to get to the wall. So, and once they get past the wall, if they get past the wall, it's not going to be hard for them to come down there. They bring the storm, kind of like Euron Greyjoy. They bring the storm.
Yeah, we didn't get Euron this episode. That's interesting. Sorry.
No, we haven't seen. He had, the little pieces of Euron that we've got are great.
Yes.
Great. Yes.
So we also get a scene where Varys and Tyrion are debating Dany's reaction to the Tarleys, right? Like that even though she won, she asked him to bend the knee. Tyrion thought maybe she should have shown a little bit mercy. Is she the Mad King returned? This is the first time, I think, that we see Varys kind of doubting her and talking about his experience serving her father, right? What did you think of? I thought that this was really unexpected. Like, I thought Varys was like all in, right? So like it was weird a little bit to hear this.
I think this is like forced drama a little bit. That's the way I'm going to see it. And this is so different from what Varys has always been. So maybe this is true Varys. Yeah, I think he's more trying to influence her. He did say at the end of the conversation with Tyrion, like, hey, she's nothing like her father. I'm not saying she's like her father. It's just, this is the ugliness of war. What'd they think? Right. Like, this is going to be pretty. That like Westerosi lords are they're nationalists, like this foreign queen. And, look at it from Randall Tarley's perspective. There is, regicide. Is that what it was? Killing your father and then betraying your own family. And with this foreigner daughter of a king who was freaking horrible. And honor back then, chivalry and honor was, it was worth dying for. Absolutely worth dying for. Again, I say back then, like it was history, but we're doing this in the context of, like medieval England. So, Randall Tarley was an old man, an old done man by that time. But you think he would have, as much as he hates Sam, you think he would have tried to talk Dickon out of going out with him.
Oh, poor Dickon.
Because now Sam is the Lord Tarley.
Well,
actually, technically, he's still a man of black. Yeah, he took the oath. So, and he put his, you notice that? He put his black back on. That was cool. I was like, yes.
Yep.
Get back to the wall, Sam.
This was one of my, I probably like this scene more than most, just because we got, first of all, I love the scenes with Varys and Tyrion.
Yep.
They're always fantastic together. Yeah. And you can tell that these are they're each other's person that they can say anything to, right? So Varys talking about his, maybe he's saying she's not the Mad King, but the tendency might be there. The fear of that happening again, creeping into him, even though he's warding it off, right? And he knows that it's irrational in a lot of ways. That moment couldn't happen with any other character and him, right? So the fact that we get these little moments still makes me really optimistic for where the show is going, and where it has been going so far since they've been off book. But I just love I wish we could have a whole series that's that's them. You know,
I know the moral conscience of the show, at least this episode, is a father-killing, whoremongering dwarf and a murderous eunuch. You know, and that's cool. That's great how this show flips things. It's we're used to it now. We're just used to it, and that's good. That's a good thing. So no, it was a good little scene. We got Tyrion got to act. You know, Peter Dinklage got to act.
Yes,
so,
a couple times. Like he, the moment where he was like, "Do you think I wanted to be born like this?" When he's talking about like that was a great scene between Tyrion. Like Jaime wasn't doing much in that scene, but Tyrion was just amazing.
But Jaime makes those faces, the pained faces, so well. Like the grimacing, you know, just that's why I used his picture on our cover of the right before. Drogon's head comes down in front of Daenerys. It's his face charging, and just the reactions that guy has are so great. So that scene. Let's talk about that scene real quick. That was that was awesome. I kind of wish it was a little longer, but
you said the episode was supposed to be 71 minutes, but we only got 60. What?
I think that was next episode.
Okay.
I think they cut something out.
I can see that scene being longer. Honestly,
could you? I don't know if you want. I don't know. I don't want to say this now. I'll say it at the end of the season if they don't show it. How's that sound? Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything. There was in the spoiler that I read that was on a Reddit, which was free to find. HBO. I still watched your show. I still watch your show. I still pay to watch your show.
Right.
Look at all these things I pay for right here. So please no. Something else happened. Private message me at if you're on our YouTube. If you really want to know, on the about section, there's an email. Shoot me an email, and I'll tell you. But I won't say it here.
Here's something else that was interesting in this episode to me was Jon's reaction to finding out that Arya and Bran are still alive. Was almost like, oh yeah, I thought they were dead. This is the world we live in. Like, I almost felt like it was like, well, we had to have Jon reacting to them being alive, and he's not going to go back to Winterfell. So, you know, this episode or anytime soon. So, we need something, and they just threw that line in there. What did you think of that? Was it clumsy?
Well, I don't think I think I predicted we're not going to get a full Stark reunion this season, which is kind of disappointing. But I think we will get one next season. In the books, I don't think we'll get one at all. So. There it is there. I kind of thought, well, maybe, you know, he is thinking about the dead coming. He's got kind of a mission going on. He just became king. You know, he just became CEO of a company, and he's going on a business trip like 2 weeks later. That would make me insecure too. You know, he's got a lot on his mind. So, yeah, but I was kind of like hoping for, you know, especially Arya, him hearing Arya and Bran, you know, God, little tears, but he's like, and Bran's Doctor Strange. So shit. I don't know. We kind of, you know, I didn't like the Arya Sansa reunion at first, and then I went back and rewatched it and I liked it more. So maybe, you know, upon second watch, but yeah, it felt a little rushed. Yes, I agree.
Let's go to the Arya and Sansa were a big part of this episode. I don't know if they were the most screen time. I think Dany probably had the most screen time. Maybe Tyrion and Davos had the most screen time. But the Arya Sansa stuff was a big part of the episode. I always imagined this would be their dynamic, so I kind of love that it's like their dynamic as kids, but now they're both superheroes, like calling each other out on their superhero flaw, like their heroic flaw or whatever it is. I kind of love them. Like I want to see a lot more of this. I want to see the game. Like, you've got Sansa who's so cold and detached now because she believes that she needs to be like the political head of the family, and you've got Arya who's been like training to be an assassin, who's like, if they don't follow you, just kill them. Right? Like, and I love that they both have these really opposing viewpoints on the world. And I don't know, I just love that they both kind of expect the worst in each other, but are hoping to help the other person be their best. And I think that that's an interesting dynamic that they have.
Yeah, well, it shows the lasting resentment that is still there, because Arya didn't like Sansa's act first season, and Sansa was young, so we don't hold it against her. But again, she was manipulative and did what she wanted, and did it through the guise of innocence. Although we knew she wasn't being that innocent, she just wanted what she wanted, and accidentally got her father killed. So and again, it was accident. But yes, Arya is going to be a little pissed about that, okay? Especially since she was out there and she knew what was going on, and the whole thing with the dire wolves and Joffrey. Yeah, it's it almost makes you sorry Joffrey, didn't die, and that's why we, because Arya would get to kill Joffrey, but that would be so typical for the show. I thought the stuff was really good. The tension was really good between them. Reading it wasn't as good as watching it. That's why, that's why you shouldn't read spoilers, kids. It's really bad. Not to should you guys, but yeah, it was very entertaining. I liked their whole dynamic. It felt a little bit like I'm going to pull an X-Men reference on you, my man. It felt a little Kitty Pryde, White Queen to me a little bit. They really don't like each other, but it felt a little, especially with those two both being in the X-Men. But yeah, it was cool. It was cool. I liked it.
Where do you think this is going?
Oh, it's going to go. If the show was going to go the 10 seasons they promised, I think there would be a real conflict between those two, end up fighting. But it's not, so I think it's going to be Littlefinger's dead.
So yeah, what was Littlefinger's plan? Why was he trying to get Arya to break in his room and get that scroll? And what was that scroll? It said it was a scroll from Sansa to a sibling that was talking about Joffrey killing somebody or like what. I paused it on it, but it blanks out half of it, so you can't figure out exactly what it is. What was that?
Should I say what
Littlefinger doing? Yeah,
say what it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so that scroll is the letter that Sansa wrote the realm, that Cersei forced her to write in season 1, saying that her father's a traitor, and you should be loyal to Joffrey, and yada yada yada. Which, I don't know how Arya could be mad about that now. I mean, she wrote that under, now seeing it like right now the way she did, and it being hidden. And in the context that Littlefinger knew she was following her, which means she's not the best faceless man in the world. I mean, I know Littlefinger's skilled, but I don't think he could outskill a true faceless man. Okay.
Well, she clearly wasn't using her full skills either, or else she would have had a different face on at that moment, right?
Well, I mean, like Sam, she left early, so she's not going to have her full range of skills. So, okay, yeah. So she's not Ninja Warrior. She's a very skilled fighter and dangerous as F, but still not there. Yeah, she left early. Okay. And Littlefinger is a grown adult who's been doing this in King's Landing, the Belly of the Beast, for a long time. So yeah, I can see how he did that. But yeah, he totally set her up, and it's to get that reaction. But I think a simple conversation of, "Hey, Arya, I was a hostage. They made me do a lot of things. Did you know that they also beat me? Like Joffrey beat me like regularly, and that he had Kingsguard beat me regularly."
And Bran's there to just say, "Yeah, Arya, this happened." Like he knows everything. Like there's no getting any like false secret out there when Bran's there to tell his sisters like, "Hey, calm down. I know everything, and she's right. She was under duress. Like she's not lying to you." So you've got a polygraph machine sitting out talking to trees. You'll get the truth out there.
You got pre-2014 Google when it was cool, out there, right? Westerosi Google. Yes.
So fermented crab is like Viagra. We also found that out this episode.
Oh, I did not know that. That is good to know. Right? I did note it down, though. If I ever need that stuff.
So let's see. We talked about... so let's talk about the Magnificent Seven being put together, or wait, what are we calling it? The Eastwatch Avengers.
The Eastwatch Avengers. Hashtag East. Sorry.
Yeah.
Never. Please don't. That you know what? That's the ends justifying the means. That little rushed Jorah scene, to see Jorah fighting with Tormund, and there's 7 of them, right? There are 7 of them. So it's Thorsamir, Beric Dondarrion, Gendry, Jon Snow, the Hound, and Tormund, and Jorah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the Westerosi 7. That is the East Coast Avengers.
You're right though. Brienne, what the heck? Why isn't Brienne? What? No girls allowed? What the fuck?
Yeah. Well, obviously the writers are sexist and misogynist, patriarchy, blah, blah, blah. Or she was shooting Star Wars.
Or that would be also the case. This is going to be badass next week, though. I mean, this is all.
She needs to, I think they'll make up for it next season. Okay, I'll just be saying that. I think they're going to save her for something else. I think they need her. For one, she needs to reunite with Jaime. But yeah, I need to see her in open field battle. We got to see a little bit of it. Okay, she kicked some ass to save Sansa. Dude, she took out like 8 guys by herself. Okay, Pod kind of took out one, but yeah, I kind of wish she was there. Tormund kind of wishes she was there too. He's all the big woman, with his little eyebrow. It was, and again, that whole scene, like when they were in the jail cell and they all like, I hate you and you're a fucker. And excuse my language. Sorry. Trying to tone it. After my last podcast where I dropped a lot of F-bombs, I'm trying to tone it down a little bit.
How many in 90 minutes did you drop?
37.
37 in 90 minutes. That's impressive, my friend.
Sorry. Okay. No excuses. It was just, I was a little tired. When I get a little tired, I get a little loopy. Okay.
TVMA.
Yeah. So, that whole, but Jon Snow, like, hey, what makes us all on the same side? We're breathing. And that was such an action movie scene. It opens the door and they're going out and, the whole shot of that was a money shot. I actually wanted to lay down more money. I was so happy with that. That made and then that scene rolling into next week's credits, I did message you, and I'll freely admit it made my nipples a little hard, just a little bit. Okay.
What's going to happen next week? Where is this going?
Yeah. Where's this going? Gee, I don't know where it's going, John. I think it's going to go with it's going to be an S show. It's going to be a Westerosi S show. For one. They're going out.
What are they trying to do? They're trying to just get one guy and bring him back?
They want to capture a white. So they're going to capture a zombie. They're not going to capture one of the others. Okay. They want to capture a white and bring it down to Cersei. I guess it's believable. There's dragons flying around and there's sorcery. And, Cersei did make a point that nothing goes down. Like Qyburn's just as good with the birds as Varys was. So she knew Jaime was down there. So she's got to know what's going up the wall. She's got people at the wall. She sent people to the wall. So she's got to know what's going on. And I think I can predict how Cersei's never going to be a friend with anybody. As a matter of fact, she even said it. She's like, I'll just do what father did. I'll befriend, quote unquote, the right person at the right time, and then when the time comes.
Yeah, I don't understand what they're trying to do here. I don't understand why they're trying to get Cersei on board to be an ally in this fight. When, it's Dany. If she can ally everybody else except Cersei against Cersei, they can deal with this threat and then come back and fuck with Cersei with whatever she takes from them.
She's got Tyrion. I mean, it actually makes sense. Right now, you do have bigger things, and Daenerys believes them. I mean, not enough to go up there and fight, but she's on board with this plan to try to get the realm to do it. So for one, Daenerys doesn't have to do it all herself and get her army killed. I mean, this must piss her off. I finally make it to Westeros and fucking zombie invasion. Go the timing, but with Cersei is playing it smart too. It's why don't we have anything to survive another day? She's not going to go over. I mean, look at how tough she is. She doesn't have any dragons. She's figuring stuff out. So hats off to Cersei for being a maniac, which will burn her in the end. But it's her surviving this long, and especially wanting to bring a kid into this world, and then being happy about it after, let's face it, she hasn't had a good track record watching children. Okay. Nope. Sorry. She's not a good track record being a parent, but maybe the fourth one's a charm. Who knows? Yeah.
So I want to do something that we've been doing in this season. I want to talk about the stuff that happened this episode and see if you think that there will be something at least similar in the books, right? Like, we're not talking about like if if we're talking about a scene where Jorah's standing next to Jon and they're talking to Dany, Jorah doesn't need to be in that scene for the essence of that scene to make sense in the books, right? So we're talking about the like, is this going to be in the books in a very generalized way, right? So let's talk about Jon petting the dragon. Are we going to get a scene where Dany and Jon are together and he has some sort of interaction with the dragon that brings her to his way of thinking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go into it? Yeah, I think.
Yeah, no, go into it.
I think. I think they're gonna. I think there's a possibility they might fight each other in the books at first, or be about to fight each other. I don't know how that scenario rolls. I know George R. R. Martin's talked about a big twist, and in the books we don't have a Night King. We don't have a big bad in the books. We have others. We know nothing about them. We have dead men. We don't know who's leading them. We don't know if they have a leader. It could be a queen. That's a lot of the word I have, or it could become Jon Snow.
He could become
the Night King. Yeah, I think but I think they will have dragon interaction. I think he will be riding one. Yeah, I think he'll be riding.
Yep, agreed. Do we think that Cersei is going to get pregnant via Jaime in the books and for a fourth child?
She would have had to have been pregnant already. No.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, I agree.
Because Jaime's over her, and she did her walk of shame. Yeah, she had already been locked up, and she did her walk of shame in the books, and Jaime has disappeared in the Riverlands with Bran.
Do you think this whole plot line of bringing back a zombie to get an alliance between Cersei, Jon Snow, and Dany is going to happen? Like, do you think that there's going to ever be a plot line where some group of people has to go to the north, find a zombie, and bring it back to somebody to get an alliance?
No way.
Yeah, this seems so.
George R. R. Martin would never write that. Just not in a million years. It's a cool TV thing. I'm totally down with watching it. If it again, I can separate. It took me a minute, ladies and gentlemen, but I can separate the books and the show. And the books, to where there was a time about season 4 where I'm like, man, these are equal. These are really I get equal enjoyment. But the books have far surpassed the show.
Yeah. There's no way that you could have that quality for that long.
If they would have done 2 full seasons, maybe split up, I think they could have done it. They could have gotten close, but
potentially.
Dan and Dave want to do their Confederate show. So,
have we already gotten this? But let's talk about the Rhaegar annulment and remarriage to Lyanna. Has this been alluded to in the books? And even if it is, do you think we're going to get it explicitly told to us? Is this something that's going to be book relevant?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Location will be different, but this is huge in both. It'll be bigger in the books. But it's going to be huge, and I think we're going to see it. I think we're going to see it this season.
And then Arya versus Sansa in Winterfell. Do you think that is going to be a storyline in the books?
No.
Okay.
No way. I don't know if any of them are going to make it to Winterfell, which is funny.
I think Sansa's going to stay in the Riverlands for a long time in the book, so I don't see...
No, the Vale. She's in the Vale.
Sorry, yes, in the Vale.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Sansa... I think Sansa will rule in the Vale.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's where it seems to be going. So anything else that you want to bring up before we head out and do a little housekeeping and sign off for the night?
I'll save that. I want to get. I wish they would have mentioned Lord Hightower a little bit. When Sam was walking away and he was looking up at the Hightower, there's the second richest lord, possibly now the first richest lord in Westeros is Lord Hightower. who is the Lord Paramount of that of Old Town. He plays. He's never showed up in the books. Plays a big part though, and he's got some witch. He hasn't come out from his tower, I guess, in years, and he's up there with some witch doing spells or something, and that's what's kept the town safe for so long. I wish they would have mentioned that. I don't know. That's just kind of a thing that they, it's becoming more prevalent now that Sam is in Old Town, even in the books. So, I wish they would have kind of mentioned that. And definitely look up Jenny of Oldstones. Definitely read A World of Ice and Fire. If you haven't already, if you're a true Game of Thrones fan, that is good stuff. I mean, the world building, George, man, that guy's good. I'm sure there might be better out there. Maybe Robert Jordan. I haven't read the Robert Jordan stuff, so I don't know. But GRRM's world building is second to none.
Agreed.
I can't wait till next episode, man. That trailer was, man.
It looks like it's going to be another focused episode on this this heist mission to get a zombie and get him south of the wall. So I think that, this is going to be really fun.
That's probably going to be like a good 20 minutes of the episode. Next episode is 71 minutes. Actually, the next two are super long. So
if the next one's 71 minutes, I think that this is 40 minutes of it. I don't think it's 20 minutes of it. I think that this is
that'd be cool.
I think it's going to be a very focused thing.
And that's, again, the spoilers are out there, and I did not read them. I have no idea what's going to happen. So
I'm proud of you, Gary.
Thanks.
I
could break down the next couple days. Sorry.
If you want to hear our thoughts on this and all other things on Twitter, you can follow me. I'm at Jon Reed 16. You can follow Gary. He runs the official Nerdrotic Twitter feed. It's at Nerdrotics. Or you can follow us on Instagram. It's Nerdrotic on Instagram. Please head over to Facebook and like our page. It's at facebook.com/nerdroticpodcast. We put all of our news posts up there, questions, comments, all sorts of stuff. We post these videos on Be Live. So if you want to watch our live reactions for the next little while, we'll be here instead of on YouTube. We'll be back at YouTube come fall. But until then, if you want to see these videos live and interact with us, head over to facebook.com/nerdroticpodcast and like us. You can also please head and subscribe to us at YouTube. We're the Nerdrotic channel on YouTube. I think it's user/Suture Watchtower, or just search for Nerdrotic channel there. Give us a subscribe, leave us comments. We try to interact a lot over there. We're trying to build the community, so that is always fun for me to see what you guys think and comment. Sometimes my comments that are supposed to be sarcastic or funny come off wrong, so it's all in good nature for me. Head on over to iTunes and subscribe to us. You can subscribe to our full Nerdrotic feed, where you get the recaps and coverage we do for all TV shows and movies, and basically everything we do as a podcast will be at the Nerdrotic feed. Or you can subscribe to just our Game of Thrones coverage at Arya's Prayer on iTunes. So this is a specific feed we set up just for this Game of Thrones recap. You can subscribe there and not get all the other Nerdrotic stuff, but we do a lot of stuff that you might want to see. So it's Nerdrotic on iTunes. I think that's everything.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
One thing, when you hit subscribe, make sure you hit the little bell to the right of it, and that's notifications that'll let you know when our videos have come up. We got caught up in a YouTube weirdness a little bit that's been going on. There's been a lot of weirdness going on. We're a tiny little station, so it must have been an accident. It's okay. So we'll be back live. And somebody was giving my man some heat for touching his nose in the comments or something, and the guy was nice about it. Exactly.
Yeah, no, I actually like that.
John intercepted my package from Colombia, and he did what any other person would do. Okay, so take it easy on my man. Okay.
No. The truth is, I have an air conditioner right in front of me, and it's blowing in my face. So, I like those kind of reactions, because if it is annoying, it's something I want to stop doing. Just like verbal.
Yeah, totally. Like that, no, we want to hear about it. We definitely want to hear about it, and I'm going to get a lot better actually tonight. As soon as I put this up, I'm going to be waiting right there for your comments. I'm going to comment right back at you tonight. So, love in the YouTube community. I've been a part of it for a long time, but I've only been an active part of it. We've only been an active part of it for like the last 8 months. So it's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, that's it. Oh, hey, may the small folks sing songs of your greatness.
Awesome, 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 awesome. Bye, everybody. Have a great night, and we'll be back next week, possibly with a third co-host or